Hi everyone, this is Ashley from The Resilient Kid. I am joined by the lovely Virginia Hills, who's going to talk all about nutrition with us in a second. Um, this week in the group, we've been talking about anxiety, things to combat anxiety, how anxiety can raise itself for kids. You know, how we can see that anxiety in children, particularly if they can't express it themselves. And so, I thought this would be a perfect interview to help us. Help the kids really. There's lots of food that can have an impact on how we feel. And so I've invited Virginia along to chat with that, and we'll finish with the 3 tips as always. But first of all, welcome, Virginia. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody for us?
Hi, Ashley. Thanks for inviting me on. So my name is Virginia. I'm a nutritionist and I specialise in gut health. So mainly supporting women and their families, help them with kids with dodgy tummies, so bloating, cramping, diarrhea, things that go on for quite a long time. And also our hormones, and one of which is the main hormone that comes out when you're stressed, you're anxious, is cortisol. And so looking at how foods can help reduce the impact of those hormones on your body and make you feel better. So that's how I practice, where I specialize mostly. I'm practicing online at the moment and seeing lots of people who are struggling. We're all struggling, I think, with the long-term effects of having been in lockdown for quite a while. So love helping people make simple changes to their diet and their lifestyle to help them feel better.
Brilliant. And obviously, I'm already party to your 3 tips, and one of them for me is amazing for kids, and I recommend it a lot for children that I see. And I think you're right. I think, picking up from what you just said there, we're all struggling. We're all struggling. We've never been in this situation before, unless you're old enough to be, in the last wave of a pandemic and the Spanish flu, which, we're not, thank God. We This is a brand new situation for everybody, and particularly for the kids. And I think it's really important that we recognize that if we're struggling, so are they. They're really struggling. A lot of you know that I'm a psychotherapist and I see little clients a lot. My books are full and overflowing with kids presenting with anxiety, and it's that change. But so tell us a little bit more about how food can affect the way that we feel. How can it affect our anxious state?
So I think the main thing there is really, if we are not eating the right foods, or if we're perhaps, the common one I know is just really difficult when we're all at home and there's lots of snacks available, but is eating lots of sugar. Because actually, so sugar in the form of things like biscuits and cakes, or hidden sugars in foods that we might be buying, because actually what that does is just gives you and your kids that sort of instant, what we call a blood sugar spike. So your energy comes up, the kids get really overexcited, and you might not see it, but you see they've got more energy, which I think is a relief. So just to mention, I've got 2 kids as well. My kids are 8 and 10, so I see this in my kids. But if I give them something, perhaps maybe more like a chocolate biscuit or whatever, which we all need to have the treats. But if I give them too many, for example, one of my children, I let him loose on half a packet of Cadbury's Fingers, and it was absolutely disastrous. He was a nightmare afterwards. But the effect on anxiety is they get really excited, but then actually afterwards they get the dip in their blood sugar. And that's when the anxiety and the sort of low feelings and the low mood really kicks in. And so what happens is you get a bit of a blood sugar roller coaster. So you keep on going up and down like that, and then the peak, the drops in the energy and the drops in the mood get lower. So really what you want to be doing is just keeping them at a general consistent energy level, rather than having those peaks and troughs. And the peaks and troughs comes by the sugary foods that we eat. So either hidden sugars in just simple things like tomato ketchup or sauces or whatever, but also in your snacks. So it's thinking about giving them, we all need snacks at break time and snacks in the afternoon, and that really helps the kids keeping on going with their energy for their schooling. But at the same time, thinking about what you can give them as a snack instead. And so fruit and nuts and seeds are really good. And also just a little bit thing like a banana or some toast with some nut butter. I mean, obviously those who are allergic to nuts, you have to be a little bit careful if you've got a family history of allergy to nuts. But nuts are really good because they're really nourishing, and they're full of protein and fat that keep you going. But they're also full of vitamins and minerals that we need to help for the stress response. So actually, when we're under this kind of anxious state, a lot of our minerals and vitamins get depleted very quickly. So it's also about putting in wholesome foods that our kids can eat and keep their systems full up with the nutrients and the vitamins that they need.
And I think, sorry, Virginia, I was just thinking then, because we had a chat a couple of weeks ago when we were setting this up. There's a few things there. One, I totally hear you. So most of you will know my 10-year-old turned 11 a couple of days ago. And I know if he's had, say, chocolate biscuits or whatever in the afternoon, and even if I limit him to kind of 2, I have to be really careful. If I give it him after lunch, like straight after his meal, it's not too bad. But yes. If I say he has it 11 o'clock, because we've got a thing about it's 11s is. So, the minute 11 o'clock strikes, then they're all in the kitchen looking for snacks. If he has it then, I find later on, he's almost weepy. He's either running around like a mad Labrador puppy, or he's weepy and he can't tell me why, yes. And that's not because he hasn't got the words. I just think it's that he hasn't got anything to tell me, because he just knows this is how he feels. So rather than, saying, oh, I'm upset because, he can't, because he just knows he feels odd. Is that yes. what you're talking about, that roller coaster?
Absolutely. So they'll have that buzz of energy instantly. So it'll take them through until, maybe if you're having it at 11 o'clock, it'll take them through till 12 o'clock. So it might take them through until lunchtime. But then you'll get a dip later on in the afternoon at about 3:30 or 4 o'clock. And that's when you're looking for another snack. And then they'll want another, maybe they'll look for another piece of cake, or, even a hot chocolate can help. I mean, the hot chocolate is better because it's actually balanced with, what we try and do is balance with protein and fats together. So that's why if you have a chocolate biscuit after lunch, or you have your hot chocolate, you're balancing it probably with some protein at lunch, or certainly in the case of the hot chocolate, you've got the milk. But the issue there, the temptation there, is just to take another sugary snack, but that actually just makes it worse. So then you get the knock on again, maybe at bath time or bedtime, when things are falling down a bit, everyone's a bit tired, and they're getting more tired again, and they've gone on that little bit of a roller coaster again, and the mood's got lower, and they can't express it, and they don't know why. So actually what we need to do is to try and keep their food pattern quite regular through the day. And if they're going to have sugary snacks, do it either early or combine it with something else that is a little bit healthier. So maybe give them a chocolate biscuit, but give them either some oat cakes, they're really good for sustaining energy, or a little piece of cheese, because that's really good. That sort of soaks up the sugar because you've got the protein and the fat in there, or the nuts, as I said, or a banana. So just to balance it out with something else, and trying to meet their demands and their needs, and obviously their taste buds too, but trying to balance it with other things that's going to keep a little bit more of a sort of flat line in their energy.
As you know, previously mentioned, we had a birthday this week, and we have another birthday in the house today. So cake is about this week. It's a big thing, and the hubby has a notoriously sweet tooth, in the fact that the kids will hide biscuits, because Dave will eat them. But the other day, after you and I talking, I was kind of conscious really of what they were eating, and we had pancakes for breakfast, for the birthday breakfast, because as requested, but we kind of made sure there was lots of fruit on there, and there was milk on there on the table, and water, rather than, you know, juice, which we would normally have with breakfast. And it's the only time they do have like a little glass, and it is only a little glass of juice. But because I knew we were having like maple syrup, which, you know, again, we made sure it was like, you know, good maple syrup, if there's such a thing. But, you know, at least it wasn't full of loads of additives. But we had like water and milk on there. And then later on, we'd had like a really, you know, we'd had a lovely lunch that we would made, and then dinner. And afterwards, when we was having birthday cake, instead of the treat of lemonade, we had milk. I didn't have milk, I'll be honest. I had a glass of wine. But, you know,
something else, actually.
So I said, you know, let's have a glass of milk with the cake. And actually, they really enjoyed it, which was a bit of a surprise for me. But it was that trying to not over, you know, especially on a birthday, you know, when they're already hyper and stuff. And I don't know about you, but I know we both got a boy and a girl. For me, the boys are like Labrador puppies. I know I was joking about that before, but it's almost like they need a run, you know, every day. They need some form of exercise, as if you have got a new puppy in the house. And so if my youngest doesn't get that, he's not climbing the walls, but you can see he get more agitated or upset easier and stuff. And I just felt like, now I'm more aware after talking to you about what foods to, not just to pair with each other, but kind of, if we're going to have a treat, that's fine, but don't give like treat upon treat, even if it's a birthday, you know.
Absolutely.
So just that glass of milk made such a difference, you know, that he wasn't hyper going to bed, whereas maybe would have been, you know, usually.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of thinking. I mean, I'm all for treats too. I'm all for treats too, and particularly when there's occasion. And you know, we eat cake in our family, and particularly through lockdown, we've been making lots of cakes. And at the weekend, there's a lot about baking. My daughter loves baking, and it's great to see her play with food and understand food. She's 8, and you know, she can pretty much make a cake on her own now, which is fantastic. So I'm all for cakes, but it's about balancing it and often thinking about their food during the course of the day. So you're not just thinking about it at a particular meal, but you're thinking about what they've had during the course of the day, and sort of what the pattern is like. And you're absolutely right that by the evening time, having a lemonade just before they go to bed is just going to probably send them up into that jumpy kind of state, and they'll be dancing around the room, and everyone will have a great time. But then when it gets to bedtime, when you're actually trying to get them into bed, everyone just dissolves. And so pairing it with the milk, which has got the protein and the fat in it, just to keep more of a flat line, is a great idea. Also, you know, I was thinking about when you mentioned juice at breakfast, you know, just to keep it to 1 glass of orange juice, because it hasn't got the fiber in it. So basically, orange juice is just the extracted juice. Well, if you eat a whole orange, you've got the skin, the pith, you know, maybe a seed that might go down to, which has got what we call fiber, and that's what also helps slow down the blood sugar rush. So if you are eating a piece of fruit, actually getting loads of other things and helping calm your energy. Whereas if you're having a glass of orange juice, just keep it to 1 small glass of orange juice at breakfast, or, you know, in this cold weather, a hot chocolate, or a glass of water, or, you know, if or just even water down the orange juice, because actually the juice and the sugary drinks are still increasing that energy spike, rather than just having a sort of flat line as we go through the day. And just coming on, so tacking on from that, another thing is just to, what I've been doing is still using my kids' school water bottles, and still filling those up in the morning. So when they go and sit at their desk, or, you know, after breakfast or whatever, they've still got their water bottle. And keep on filling that up through the day, because you can give them a glass of water, but they probably won't drink it. But at school, if they're like mine, they're used to having their water bottles on their desk and having it to go to. And water's so important for keeping your energy up, actually, because all of our cells in our body need that. water. They all operate with water, and particularly our brain. Our brain needs a lot of water, and so if you're dehydrated, that will make the anxiety, the twitches, the concerns, the worries worse. So it's carrying on drinking that water through the day and just keep on giving them what they're familiar with, which is their water bottle.
Absolutely. And I think so my eldest, so I fill the water bottles up at night time, so they're ready to like rock in the morning. The eldest always puts hers in the fridge because she likes it ice cold. The other one, he will just, he will leave it on the side. And it's that familiarity. They're sitting down to do the schoolwork, and it's for me, it's like a double win because, they know that they've got to do schoolwork. The water bottle's there. It's all those triggers that, it's time to work. I'll drink. I think it's a win-win. That it's a brilliant little tip there.
And if they don't like drinking water, just pop a slice of lemon in it. So put it in the fridge if they like it cold. I've got the same. One likes it cold, one likes it warm. Put a slice of lemon in it, or a slice of cucumber, or some mint leaves, or even a few frozen berries, just to give it a bit of taste, rather than using a cordial or a squash or whatever that's also got those hidden sugars in. So just keep it plain, but give them a bit of a sense of taste of something.
So how much water? Because I know for adults, the talk is, and I think sometimes it's a little bit, you never know if it becomes that urban myth almost. Yeah, we all should drink 8 glasses of water. Is it that? Should we be drinking more? Should we be drinking less? What is it for kids, Virginia? What's the rough, to give us a rough guide, how much should they be drinking a day?
Yeah, so it's actually more than you realise. So for children who are between 4 and 8 years, it's roughly about 1.2 litres. So have a check of the child's water bottle and see how big it is. And if it doesn't say on it, you can just get a jug, a measuring jug, and just see how much it takes. So for children from 4 to 8 years, it's 1.2 litres. And for children from 8 to 13 years, it's 1.6 to 1.8 litres. And the difference is between the boy and the girl, and the boys need more. So it's actually a lot more than we think. Now, obviously, fluids that you take in food, so for example, soups or porridge or anything like that has fluid in it, or a stew or whatever, you're getting some of your water intake there, but not very much. So I would say for children up to 8 years, aim for about a litre of drinking water a day. Children up to 13 years, about 1.5 litres a day. And then you go up into the sort of the more adult ranges, where it is also about 1.5 litres a day, 1.5 to 2 litres for an adult, and for your older teenagers.
Brilliant. So we've kind of covered the importance of snacks, and you've done us a really lovely little handout, which I'll post in the group after the interview. So thank you for that, because it's those kind of things that are just really handy to look at and know. So we've covered snacks and looking at, the kind of snacks that will just keep that energy stable, keep that anxiety lower as well. We've looked at water. What's your last tip? Because this is my favourite.
So this is my really quick, easy tip, which is give your kids eggs. Give anyone eggs. So eggs are what they call nature's happy pill, because they are full of B vitamins, and B vitamins are really important for the stress response, and get really quickly depleted when you're stressed or anxious. So we're just talking about, so you could have eggs for breakfast, you could have, boiled egg for breakfast, you can have the same for your tea or for your dinner with soldiers, or you could make it into an omelette for lunch, or I'm trying to think what else, scrambled eggs, or eggs with some smoked salmon. If your kids like smoked salmon, some of the older kids might do. Oily fish, smoked salmon is also really good for the brain, really good for anxiety. Because your brain is also made, as well as being made of fats, it's also made of being made of water, it's also made of fats, which is in those oily fish. So eggs are my top tip. Really quick, really easy. You can usually get hold of them pretty quickly. I know some people during the first lockdown struggled to get hold of them, but they are full of lots of vitamins and minerals, and such an easy tip.
Yeah, absolutely easy tip. And I think as well, for me, it's one of the first meals that my kids made on their own, like scrambled eggs. You know, it's a real easy, you know, win. And actually, you know, we pretty much let our kids get their own breakfast in the morning. Today it was, you know, we've had a big cooked breakfast because Daddy's birthday, but you know, they will, and often, you know, it will be things like scrambled eggs. I always can tell when they've had cereal for breakfast because they're hungry really fast, and they are ratty as well. So eggs is a really, you know, it's, for me, it's a win-win because it's one of them, you know, quite young, they can do, you know, break the eggs, give it a whip up, throw it in a pan, you know, and it only takes minutes. So I think it's a really good one to get them to do themselves first as well, apart from the fact that it's, you know, it's just such a good whole food. Top tip for you, Milkman. We always get our eggs off the Milkman, or our friend Joe up the road. Yeah, our Milkman eggs. Yeah, so we get them delivered every day. Even when we live near a big Sainsbury's, when they didn't have any, Milkman still had them. So yeah, for definite. The other thing I wanted to ask you just about eggs: can we eat too many eggs? Like, how many? You know, how many eggs should we be looking at?
So I know that sort of a lot of people are very cautious of eating eggs. It's a great question, actually, Ashley, because I was thinking about that as you were mentioning it. A lot of people are very cautious because in the 1980s and 1990s, people thought about eggs as containing cholesterol, and they were concerned about the fats and whether they're good fats or bad fats. So nutritional science since then has changed quite a lot, and there's not too much of a concern. So an adult portion of eggs, so your portion of protein at a meal, is actually 2 eggs. So for kids, 1 egg at a meal is fine. I wouldn't give them more than maybe 2 or 3 eggs a day. But if they're having 2 eggs, it's not a problem at this stage. And so for adults, 2 eggs. So, but for kids, you probably only want to give them 1 egg, or depending on their age, 1 egg at a meal, maybe up to 2, but wouldn't have more than 2. And also remember, you can have them as a snack. You can have them as a hard-boiled. You can pre-hard-boiled eggs, put them in the fridge, and have them as a snack. Some kids like it, some kids don't.
Yeah, I love it. I love like an egg as a snack. Kids not so much. Just as you're talking, so Tina, who's involved in the group, who's really lovely, her go-to breakfast is mashed banana, peanut butter, and an egg, just all mashed up with a fork, and then put it in a pan like a frying pan. And my sister's not been great the last few days. You know, she's not felt particularly hungry and stuff like that. And I said to her, "Oh, Tina does this pancake. Why don't you try it?" And she phoned me yesterday and said, "I can't tell you how much energy I had during the day. It was brilliant." So just because you'd mentioned kind of nut butters and bananas as a good longevity, you know, snack, Tina does that. So I thought, oh, that's quite a good one. So we're yet to try it actually, because of the birthdays, but my sister swears by it and Tina has it most days. So yeah. So I think we might have just lost Virginia there, but I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining us today, and brilliant tips that you've come up with there. Really, really good tips for us. Now, I'm going to drop your links in so people can get hold of you. And even though you and I are like miles and miles apart, I'm up north, you're down south, actually, you're working online now. So people can like still have a consultation with you and stuff like that. They can get hold of you, yeah?
Absolutely. So I'm seeing clients from all over the UK and outside the UK as well. So do get hold of me. Send me an email or get hold of me on Facebook, however is easiest. And yeah, all my contact details will be in the group. Love to chat.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for today. Really appreciate it, and fabulous tips just to keep our kids, you know, that anxiety at bay, or at least lessen with the foods that we choose for them. So thanks very much, Virginia.
Thanks, Ashley. Great to speak to you.
Bye.
Bye.